Here we'll create a table of values for a function of two variables. It's a good way to get started on graphing a surface for the first time. We just want to pick several combinations of x and y and use those to plug into the formula given. So the formula that's given is f of x comma y equals x times y. So for each combination of x and y, we can plug in. If we want, we can document what we're doing down below. Alright, so I'm going to start right in the middle in the origin with an x of 0 and a y of 0. Then I see that f of 0 comma 0 is 0. And that's the number we want to put there. Just multiply the x times the y. And let's see, if we go up 1, we'll have 0 comma 1. And we see there that the value is still 0. We could try 0, negative 1, and that's going to also be 0. It looks like it's going to be 0 everywhere on this column. And we can also see here that when the y is 0, it doesn't matter what the x is. That's going to be 0 as well. But what about this square here? It's an x of 1 times a y of 1. So our value will be 1. And, we don't even really need this listing of the different possibilities. We can just figure them out by multiplying the column times the row. And let's see, we'll get negative 1 here, because 1 times negative 1 makes negative 1. Negative times a negative makes a positive, and a negative times a positive makes a negative. All right, let's try up here. 1 times 2 makes 2. Over here we have 1 times 2 makes 2. 1 times negative 2 will make negative 2. And negative 1 times 2 will be a negative 2. With a lot of these, there's some symmetry to them, a little bit of a pattern to them. And before long, we can fill in all the missing numbers. Okay, there we go. So we do have the option of trying to shade the spaces. And one convention is that the lower the elevation of the surface, the lower the number, the darker the shading. Yeah, so the zeros should be a fairly dark shade because they're low in elevation. But negatives should be even darker. And the more negative we go, the darker the shading should be. When we get to a negative 4, That's very dark. Okay, but positive numbers should be lighter. There we go. So it's just a visual representation which tells us about the elevation of the different locations. Now let's go ahead and plot it using a 3D online application. Okay, so this time I'm going to go to CalcPlot 3D, which is another great online grapher for surfaces. And as you can see, it's got a nice visual representation of a surface. We just want to get rid of the example here and plug in our surface. Before I do, remember that we were looking at the XY plane. We were looking at coordinate pairs, combinations of X and Y. So it would be like we're looking down on the surface. Okay? That's what we have here, looking down on the surface from above. Okay, so this is nothing more than just a simple plane that I'm looking at. It is the function z equals 0. And when we look at our coordinate pairs in this type of table format, the values tell us how high off the xy plane our surface will be. So if we had z equals 0, that'd be an easy one. That would just be all zeros in here. But this function is a little more complicated. It's a function of x times y. So let's go ahead and enter our x times y as the function here. And let's see what it makes. Interesting. So as you can see, there is a point right here at 0, 0 where the value of the function is 0. And it stays 0 to the left and right, and also up and down according to the y-axis. It's 0 along all those lines, if you can tell. But whenever x is positive and y is positive, then our values go up and up in the positive direction because we're doing a positive times a positive. Over here, we're doing a negative times a negative, and that makes positive z values, so those go up as well. But in the second and fourth quadrants here, we're going to have negative values because one of either x or y is negative in those locations. So this is just one visual representation of a surface without actually plotting the surface.